in just a few minutes on this because I actually spent a lot of energy and time on the seeking counsel. And some people don't like the word seeking counsel. I get in debates. They're like, it should be advice, should be whatever. I'm like, whatever, call it whatever you want. But but basically, seeking counsel is understanding best case, worst case scenario, right? It's Charlie Munger's invert everything. So when we go into an investment and look at any kind of an investment, because that's what we're actually talking about, but it actually applies to life, is we need to understand what the best case is, which is always what we want to think about. But then we need to invert it and say, well, what's worst case? So what kind of happens there? And then the conversations we have around that, the seeking counsel, our financial advisors, ChatGPT, calling 800 numbers, calling friends, all those are really good to help us understand and come to some conclusion on best case, worst case scenario. But I find that people who are super successful are really, really good at that. Okay. And again, they don't even know it. It's not like they won't tell you how they do it. It's just if you've been around someone who's been successful, you just kind of watch them naturally do it. Okay. And the bigger the financial decision is, the more they'll reach out. And then lastly, I'm going to kind of kick on this and then I'll pass it back to you, is there's two kinds of advice that people early on need to learn. So if you're listening to this, it's really important that you understand this because this is where trust comes in. I think trust is the biggest barrier people have because they don't trust. And because they don't trust, they don't seek advice. Okay. And so then they do nothing, right? Which is still doing something. So it's your friend with the 401k, right? I don't trust those 401ks. Then you don't do it. 10 years later, you're like, well, you should have 400 or 500 grand in a 401k and you have nothing because you didn't trust. That means you didn't do the research and advice on that. And then I'm going to hit on one last note is remember when you're seeking counsel and getting input from people, which means you have to at some point figure out a way to trust. Okay. So you have to figure out how do you build that trust, people that you trust. And there's two kinds of counsel. There's formal counsel and there's informal counsel. And those are two very, very good input points, but it's important to understand the difference. So formal counsel is paid for advice. I go to an attorney, I say I need a will. That attorney will have a tendency to have no flashy, there'll be no excitement. It'll be here's the facts, here's what you need to do. Sit down with the financial advisor, sit down with me at a cookout, and we'll have a fun conversation about buying a stock or selling a stock or what I think about the market. Sit down with me as a client where you're paying me, very different conversation, right? Because now I'm in a formal role where I'm managing the whole picture. We're not just having a conversation about a stock, right? So with that, I'll just kind of stop there and see kind of what your views. But I do think you hit on, I would bet the single biggest challenge of someone's financial success is trust. They've got to figure out how to build a process that allows them to trust.